Really show off that veil. 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to switch. So you're going to do your switch at the same time. So if I was here, I'm going to release this one off like that. And I'm going to release, and I'm going to throw this one, toss it on. So the hard part about that is doing that at the same time. And we're actually going to do that in one of the following sections. And this is a very basic version of it. So go ahead and fold over the left. And now at the same time that you toss this one off, you're going to toss the right side on. Switch. And again, switch. And again, switch. And again, switch. Okay, so let's go ahead and try that. We're set up here to start our turn to the right. 1, 2, 3, switch on 4. 1, 2, 3, switch. 1, 2, 3, switch. 1, 2, 3. So that time my veil fell off. And like I said, you just got to be patient because those things will and do happen. So let's go ahead and try that with the music. It's going to be pretty fast, so we'll mark it just with the turn a couple times before adding the veil. We'll just hold the veil here to the side. 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, switch. 5, 6, 7, switch. 1, 2, 3, switch. Switch. Now let's go ahead and try that switch without the turn, just so we get a feel for both of those. It's 1, 2, 3, switch. 1, 2, 3, switch. 1, 2, 3, switch. 1, 2, 3, switch. And really make sure that you get that first one in there nice and good. And if the veil's not centered across your back, you're going to have a hard time with the switch getting it to be even each time. On 5, 6, 5, 6, here we go. 1, 2, 3, switch. 1, 2, 3, switch. 1, 2, 3, switch. 1, 2, 3, switch. And again, that one got a little tricky at the end. Let's try one more time. Are you ready? On 5, 6, 5, 6, here we go. 1, 2, 3, switch. 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 So again, I recommend that you find some music at your home that has a tempo that you're comfortable practicing that turn and that switch. And you can also go to the dynamic veil tricks and really practice this move here. Great job. And now for the moment you've probably been waiting for, barrel turns. Barrel turns are definitely one of the most exciting things that you can do with a veil, especially double veils, but it still looks really cool and really beautiful with a single veil. So we're going to start with breaking down the technique of how exactly do we do a barrel turn. And the footwork is pretty easy. You're just going to be turning around yourself. So here again, there's no real technique to it. It has to be exactly like this, but I'm going to show you the way that I like to do it. I'm going to come up on releve, and we're going to be going full time, so we're going to be going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and we want to think of landing our front every other count. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. Yeah, so those footsteps are just 1 and 2 and 3. So you want to get back around by 3. So again, we're going to really use the technique of spotting to make sure that I get my head to snap around so that my body faces the front every other count. So let's try that again. We're going to start by turning to our right. And just a general rule of thumb, if you're going to turn to your right, you probably want to start with your right foot so that you can get around faster. 7, 8, it's 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8. So notice how I really used the spot there to help me get around and to keep me on the time. And the feet again are just alternating. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. This is a really efficient way to turn. I use it all the time. And if you remember what we talked about earlier is if we can get up on those tippy toes, you're going to have the ability to turn faster because you have less surface area and it's actually easier to turn this way. If you try this flat foot, you're going to have a little harder time. Maybe at first it'll feel easier because you're working with the flat foot for balance. But as you start to try to go faster, your feet will actually get in the way. And as I mentioned before, it's much more distracting for your audience to see the entire foot down versus if we just see the balls of the feet. So let's try that same thing turning to the left. So I'm going to start with the left foot. We're going to do the same counts coming around every other count. 7, 8, it's 1 and 2. 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and turn to the front, 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 front. Let's try that again. So same exact thing that we did to the right. 7, 8, it's 1 and 2. 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and. So go ahead and take as much time as you need to practice that turn. What you're really shooting for here is that you can actually hold and stick with your spot. So if you're working right here, this is where I want to try to stay. You want to try to avoid being all over the place when you're doing that, unless you're actually intending to. One of the fun things that we can do with the Sadei turn is we can make shapes and we can travel side to side. We can actually travel in a circle. You can really travel all over your stage. This turn that we're doing right here is really meant more for staying right here in your spot, but you can also travel with it too. But for now, we really want to try to stay right here in our slot, because when we get that veil on and we start to do those barrel turns, it's going to look much cooler if we can land it and nail it right here in our spot. So now talking about the arms for the barrel turn. So our arms, once again, we have to envision that we're inside a clock. And our arms are actually the arms of the clock. So that means our arms cannot come forward or back this way. They have to stay right in this plane of the clock, right here. And we're actually going to use the numbers 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock to help guide our arms as we're turning. So another misconception about the barrel turn is that we have to dip down. A lot of times my students, when they try to imitate the barrel turn without actually knowing what they're doing, they kind of go like this. You don't have to do that at all. That's not necessary. That could be a stylistic choice if you chose to do that and if you were already good at turning and you wanted to. But as you can see, I can do my barrel turn right here while keeping my body completely upright. And in fact, that's more than likely probably the way you want to do it unless you're already an advanced turner. Okay, so let's work on that. We're going to do the same thing with the feet. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. We're just going to slow it down so that we can really focus on the technique of the arms. And as we're turning, we'll start by turning to our right. So we're going to think of the right arm leading. So the right arm is going to take us to 12 o'clock and then back down to 6 o'clock. So the other thing you have to think about while you're doing your barrel turns is your arms are in tandem. Your arms cannot move separately. They move together as a unit. So you can also think of holding a broomstick across the span of your arms here. But if my right arm goes up, in the very same exact level, my left arm is going to go down. They both come back to the sides together and here. Okay, so they move in tandem as one solid unit. And if you can get that down, you'll really have a beautiful barrel turn. And your veil will flow really nicely. But as soon as the arms start moving in different ways and not working together as a team, you're going to lose the effect of the barrel turn. So as we turn to our right, let's lead with the right arm. 7, 8, we're going to take it to 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock as we come back to the front. So the arms are actually going 1 up, 1 down, both at the sides, 1 up, 1 down, both at the sides. 1 up, 1 down, both at the sides, 1 up, 1 down, both at the sides. 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Try again. 7, 8, it's 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock. 1 and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock. I'm still spotting, and 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Okay, so notice how my arms, they stayed in tandem, and also notice how I stayed inside my clock. So one of the biggest problems that I see with the barrel turns is that people who are just new to this move, they start to move their arms all around like this, and they start going outside of the clock. So one thing you can do to help also is you could put some tape down on the floor. If I had a line here on the floor, I would make it my goal that my arms were always in perfect line with that line marker on the floor. And I would try to keep my feet on that piece of tape or whatever it was on the floor that I had marking it. So let's try the same thing turning to the left. So you're just going to be leading with the left arm this time, 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7, 8, 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Lots of stuff to remember here. You're spotting,